Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophia, pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's continue looking at Xi's quotes in December. Today, we're going to talk about 全体人民共同富裕. It's a political statement by Xi in 2017 as one of his core missions is to make sure that 全体人民, like all of China, all the Chinese people, whole body, man crowd. That's my literal translation. 全体人民, whole body, like the whole population. 人民, right? Man crowd. So differences. Man is marked as a species, and min marked as coming from different family names, different lineage. Like we're all, it's Han race, but then under the same race, there are different family bloodlines. So min is that bloodline signifier. Okay. 共同富裕, that's a goal. 共同, 共 is jointly, 同 means shared. 富裕 together means prosperity. So that's the mission statement. Or I guess that's a utopia idea. Started at the beginning of communism, right? That's the idea of distribute wealth evenly. But here it didn't say exactly of evenness, right? It says 共同 means everybody included. It's all inclusive, sharing this prosperity. That there may be still inequality, right? A lot of things implied there, but didn't quantify, like how 共同富裕 that is, like how jointly and shared that is. It's unsaid, but it's a big utopia picture. It's like everybody, we're going to be prosper. We are going to enjoy this wealth together. That's the big promise. And I want to point out this one character, this Fu. Fu was expressed by this big arch with a chimney on the top. That's how I visualize it. Big arch with a chimney on top. That actually delineate the private property, because this means a private space, and a chimney means man living inside this private space. We start from caveman. We have characters that are like half opening to the outside. So it's kind of a semi-private place, versus here, the big arch is like all sides are enclosed in there. I mean, the ground is unsaid. Nobody is going to come up from the ground, right? But like you have 4 walls walled in, and that's your private property and space. And this character Fu, related to wealth accumulation. First thing in this icon is about its private property. It's not shared between but possibly shared by, like within like a min, the same family name, could be to a certain extent, but definitely not shared with everybody. That's Han, like this human species, like that's too far-reaching of a sharing. There gotta be some sort of boundary of what's considered private. Okay, so here is this private property delineation, and then inside there's this farm field symbol, which is a space with a cut up, a cross cut, a quartered cut in there. That's Chinese farm field icon. The reason why is that the government, whoever is running at the time, whatever dynasty was running, would have its households, different households assigned to a lot of land. So it's not a big land mass owned by one. Like that's too threatening to the central government. So they got to make sure it's small piece of land, like each household can only grow their wealth on that land. That's farm field. And the top, one horizontal line with one oval shape, I would view that as like cookware, a container with a lid. So this container was lit means cooking, means food, means survival, right? You have farmland and you have things to eat. So hunger, I guess, solving the hunger issue was the first symbol of you're well-to-do enough to stay away from hunger. You have farmland and you have things to cook. You have a cooking gear, right? Food from that farmland, and it's your private property. That in itself already forms a picture in this definition of what is considered to be the component of prosperity. Is that you own a piece of land and you can cook, you can grow wealth from this piece of land, and the land belong to you, this ownership, this private property definition. So I hope Xi and his team would, somebody look at this ancient characters formation, because back then language creators already recognize what Fu is about. It's having this boundary of private property instead of this very vague idea of wealth distribution between households. How things are joint and shared, like how are you going to do that? There are a lot of gray areas in that, right? So 全体人民共同富裕, I translate it as universal prosperity because it's 富裕 prosperity. But it's kind of carry a similar tone to the UBI, right? Universal basic income idea, came in from the West, in face of this AI age, I guess, or things like current economic situation in the West. Politicians raise up this idea of, instead of like a utopia idea, like the communism's proposition of this joint shared prosperity or universal prosperity. The specific solution is universal basic income. So it's kind of similar, right? But communism sing a better song. It says prosperity. It says prosper. It makes a huge promise in relative to this basic income. Basic income is still very modest in its promise to the people, right? So that's the distinction. Then I'm showing you Li Keqiang, who just recently passed away in October 27th. There are a lot of social commentary or political commentary on how young he died. How could it possibly die with a heart attack? And that sounds like very suspicious, how he died and why he dies this young. But he, as the number 2 former premier, who is the head of the government, supposedly, right? Who is supposed to care about the domestic economic situation on people's welfare, said before he left the position that 6亿人, 600 million people, 月收入 monthly income, 仅 only 1,000 RMB, which is less than $150. So imagine double the size of a US population, that large population in China make less than $150 monthly income. Picture that. Okay, so he kind of poked this big, huge lie about his political mission. And actually, he patted himself on the back to say, mission accomplished, that we actualized universal prosperity. Like 共同富裕 was already here. I accomplished that. So instead of continuing the narration of the propaganda, right? We talked about propaganda in last episode, that he poked this line, burst the bubble, telling the truth on the other side. And this could be, this statement could have came like sourced from researchers, because the government will not issue such an anti-narrative anti-propaganda number, right? That's not their storytelling. It's totally out of the picture. But some researchers may came up with this. But people can research all they want. People can publish whatever numbers they want, just like a GDP forecasting from all kinds of agencies. But if it's said by the premier, then that's like stamped by the official, like endorsed message by Li. Like he recognized that, he acknowledged that as the number two from the government, from the ruling party. So that became his political legacy. Like he, in his 10 years tenure as premier in China, couldn't really accomplish big because of the political system of whatever he was facing. Enough commentary on that. But he's this bubble bursting, this truth-telling statement. His courage to tell a different story, even that became his political legacy. All right, so that's 共同富裕. Cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you next.